Ladies and gentlemen, Tulsi Gabbard pretty much just declared war on the deep state. You see, just yesterday, Tulsi had her Senate confirmation hearing to become Donald Trump's Director of National Intelligence, during which various senators from the left tried to catch her up with gotcha questions or lecture her about how unqualified she is. However, Tulsi wasn't putting up with it, to say the least. So today, what I want to do is go over Tulsi's debut highlights with you guys and try to break everything down. So hey, without further delay, let's take a look at what Mrs. Gabbard had to say about the deep state, the weaponization of the justice system, and what she plans to do about it.
The American people elected Donald Trump as their president not once but twice, and yet the FBI and intelligence agencies were politicized by his opponents to undermine his presidency and falsely portray him as a puppet of Putin. Title I of FISA was used illegally to obtain a warrant to spy on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, using a Clinton campaign-funded false dossier as their so-called evidence. Biden campaign advisor Tony Blinken was the impetus for the 51 former senior intelligence officials' letter dismissing Hunter Biden's laptop as disinformation specifically to help Biden win the election. Former DNI James Clapper lied to this committee in 2013, denying the existence of programs that facilitated the mass collection of millions of Americans' phone and internet records, yet was never held accountable. Under John Brennan's leadership, the CIA abused its power to spy on Congress, to dodge oversight, lied about doing it until he was caught, and yet has never been held responsible. Under Biden, the FBI abused its power for political reasons to try to surveil Catholics who attend traditional Latin Mass, labeling them as quote-unquote radical traditionalist Catholics. Personally, just 24 hours after I criticized Kamala Harris and her nomination, I was placed on a secret domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies. Sadly, there are more examples. The bottom line is this must end.
And so now you guys can see why these corrupt Democrats and deep state actors are so scared of Tulsi Gabbard. She's a Russian asset. She's got to be stopped. They know that if she ends up becoming Trump's Director of National Intelligence, they're screwed. She knows exactly how they operate, and she plans on holding them accountable. And now, speaking of holding these people accountable, take a look at what I would consider to be the highlight of this entire confirmation hearing: Tulsi Gabbard's complete and total takedown of none other than Barack Hussein Obama.
Senator, as someone who enlisted in the military specifically because of Al-Qaeda's terrorist attack on 9/11 and committing myself and my life to doing what I could to defeat these terrorists, it was shocking and a betrayal to me and every person who was killed on 9/11, their families and my brothers and sisters in uniform. When, as a member of Congress, I learned about President Obama's dual programs that he had begun really to overthrow the regime of Syria, and being willing to, through the CIA's Timber Sycamore program that has now been made public, of working with and arming and equipping Al-Qaeda in an effort to overthrow that regime, starting yet another regime change war in the Middle East. DoD Train and Equip program, again, begun under President Obama, is widely been known, looked at, and studied, that ultimately resulted in over $500 million being used to train who they called moderate rebels, but were actually fighters working with and aligned with Al-Qaeda's affiliate on the ground in Syria, all to move forward with their regime change and not acknowledging what was obvious at the time and what has unfortunately borne true, which was that a regime change war in Syria, much like the regime change wars in Iraq, the toppling of Gaddafi and Mubarak, while these are all dictators, would likely result in the rise of Islamist extremists like Al-Qaeda taking power. I shed no tears for the fall of the Assad regime, but today we have an Islamist extremist who is now in charge of Syria, as I said, who danced on the streets to celebrate the 9/11 attack, who ruled over Idlib with an Islamist extremist governance, and who has already begun to persecute and kill and arrest religious minorities like Christians in Syria.
I understand.
Why that should be acceptable to anyone is beyond me.
It shouldn't
is
be.
certainly
And I
not in our
understand.
interests.
So that's not something you hear about on mainstream media. What she just said is that Obama effectively funded Al Qaeda, the same guys that flew planes into the Twin Towers, in order to overthrow Bashar al Assad in Syria. So, yeah, no wonder these people don't like Tulsi. She's willing to blow the whistle on all these terrible things that they've done over the years. And now I do want to say real quick, guys, if you enjoy the videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really does help a lot. But okay, now I want you guys to listen to Tulsi Gabbard's closing statement, which was pretty much a mic drop moment. Take a look.
Before I close, I want to warn the American people who are watching at home. You may hear lies and smears in this hearing that'll challenge my loyalty to and my love for our country. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States, accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modi's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters. The same tactic was used against President Trump and failed. The American people elected President Trump with a decisive victory and mandate for change. The fact is, what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet.
So there you have it. This is exactly why everyone on the left and all of these crazy deep state actors are so scared of Tulsi Gabbard. You see, Tulsi threatens their ability to act with complete and total impunity, which they've been doing for years and years and years, by the way. We all know that. And so when people like Tulsi pop up, it's no surprise that the progressive politicians and the mainstream media, the entire apparatus, comes crashing down on her. Because guess what? She threatens their existence. And between you and me, I think that's a good thing. Now, it can't be denied. For a multitude of reasons, Trump had some issues filling out his cabinet in 2017. That's true. But this time, it pretty much seems like he's been able to assemble the A-team. And you know why I say that? Well, have you guys ever heard the phrase, judge me by my enemies? Well, just take a look at who's freaking out about everything Trump is doing. Yeah, some pretty bad people. And you know what's just the cherry on top of all of this? If you take a look at Trump's inner circle, it's full of former Democrats that left the party when they realized just how corrupt, evil, and incompetent the Democrats have become. I mean, really, over the last couple years, anyone with a shred of dignity has left the party, and this includes people like Tulsi, RFK Jr., but also Trump himself. And so it's 100% fair to say this Trump administration is quite literally unifying the nation. And so, hey, given that's the case, I think we've all got a bright future ahead of us. But hey, I think that's all I've got for you guys with this one. Please like the video if you liked it. Please go down below and drop a comment. I want to know what you think about all of this. Thank you all very much for watching. And of course, as always, stay safe.